If you're a sucker for nostalgia, you came to the right place. Whass Good Wave Makers, ever come across something that instantly has you mentally stuck in 2005? Today we're spiraling down things that people born in the 90s and 2000s are either weirdly or deeply nostalgic for. And more importantly, why they trigger an emotional meltdown every time we see them. So kick your feet up for a while. Let's talk. Remember waking up after a long week of school and hearing the intro to your favorite cartoon? These were the last sacred hours of freedom before homework or weekend chores. Toonami was our gateway drug to anime, space lore, and inner existential dread. Cartoon Network was raw, unpredictable, and perfectly unhinged. These shows weren't just content, they were personality. They gave us routine, joy, and probably ADHD. Cartoons like Teen Titans, Static Shock, Samurai Jack, Scooby-Doo, Powerpuff Girls, and Dexter's Laboratory didn't just entertain us, they defined our weekends. That magic window from 7 a.m. to noon made you forget school even existed. It was like the world hit pause so you could hang out with your animated besties. The nostalgia hit so hard because these shows were more than just filler. They were how we made sense of the world. Saturday cartoons taught us lessons. Even if they were sandwiched in between epic battles and fart jokes, there was something comforting about how predictable it was. Good guys won, villains got clowned, and for the most part you always knew what to expect, unlike the emotional roller coaster of adulting. And let's not forget the commercials in between, loaded with neon-colored toys and sugary cereals that you immediately asked your parents for. It was basically capitalism wrapped in cartoon form, and we ate it up. Literally. Now in the era of streaming and on-demand content, Saturday morning cartoons feel like a lost art. You didn't get to choose what aired, you just watched. And at the time, that made it feel special. There was a communal vibe to it, knowing kids across the country were all watching the same thing at the same time. That sense of shared experience, mixed with childhood simplicity and over-the-top theme songs, gives Saturday morning cartoons a nostalgia that hits way deeper than just, oh yeah, I used to watch that. It's a feeling of freedom, joy, and innocence that is hard to recreate, but easy to remember. That's So Raven, Corey in the House, Proud Family, Jump In, Twitches, The Cheetah Girls, Hannah Montana, Kim Possible, Phineas and Ferb, The Sweet Life series, Freaky Friday, Minutemen, Cadet Kelly, Wendy Wu, High School Musical. Weren't these times just the prime of Disney? Disney Channel intro was our generational bad signal. It meant something magical or incredibly chaotic was about to go down, and we were there for it every time. These movies aired with dramatic countdowns and glowing wand intros that felt like national holidays. They were over-the-top, low-budget masterpieces that somehow made you believe that singing in the cafeteria would change your life. They gave us catchy soundtracks, weird plots, and life lessons. The nostalgia hits because Disney Channel was one of the few places where everything felt safe and a little magical. It was the background of sleepovers, snow days, and sick days on the couch. It made childhood feel like it had a little spark, like the world was full of best friends, crushes who sang in harmony, and school dances at the end of every plot. In a time before endless streaming options, watching Disney Channel live felt special. Just hearing the intro music or seeing that old wand logo can instantly transport you back to a time when your biggest worry was whether Kim Possible would complete her impossible mission before dinner. Even Disney Channel games had us tuned in more than Wi-Fi. If you didn't know about Disney, you lived under a rock, or you were probably an ABC kid. It's cool, but it was a lot more fun over here. I'm sure everyone has had that one uncle or cousin that had all the newest music burned onto a fresh CD that was hotter than your teacher's breath. Burned CDs were playlists before stream services came. We risked everything to illegally download songs that were mislabeled, and then we'd burn mixed CDs like we were prepping for the apocalypse. It felt rebellious, creative, and romantic when you dedicated a CD full of vibes to your lover. And the bootleg movies were our way of telling theaters, we don't want to sit with a bunch of people that may ruin our experience every time a new movie comes out. It had its downsides though. Who remembers that random person's silhouette that would periodically cover a part of the screen? An annoying reminder that you didn't pay to see this movie. These games were our first taste of internet freedom and responsibility. You weren't just playing, you were managing a digital life. Club Penguin is an online virtual world for all ages where you can create your own penguin, waddle around, and meet new friends. You can also decorate your very own igloo, style your penguin to whatever you desire, and parties were held once a month with a different theme every time, and players could play mini games to earn coins. Club Penguin currently has 300 million active players and is still going strong. Pop Tropica, made for kids ages 6 to 15. Players called Pop Tropicans traveled to different islands and completed quests on them. So far there are 53 islands released on Pop Tropica and over 500 million Pop Tropicans. Small Worlds was a personal favorite of mine. You were able to fully customize your character, buy a crib, and go out on the town and socialize with all kinds of people from all over the world. With the amount of detail they put into the game, it was like truly living a second life, virtually. Small World services shut down in 2018 with over 600,000 active players and over 6 million registered users. If you were one of the 6 million, so was I. High five. Neopets was an immersive online virtual pet game in which players can adopt, customize, and interact with Neopets in the vast world of Neopets. These games taught us social interaction, pixel-based capitalism, and what heartbreak feels like when your online girlfriend shows up on someone that has a better customized character, or your pet runs away. Mall culture in the late 90s to 2000s wasn't just about shopping. It was a full-on social ecosystem. For many teens and preteens, the mall was their first taste of freedom. Getting dropped off at the food court with a $10 bill and a flip phone was basically a rite of passage. You wandered through stores like Claire's, Hot Topic, and Abercrombie with your friends, trying on things you couldn't afford and pretending you weren't just there for the free samples. It was loud, over-perfumed, and mildly chaotic, and that's exactly why it was perfect. Malls are one of the last places that you could be offline, but still completely immersed in a social scene. You didn't need an event or plan, just being at the mall was the event. The nostalgia comes from how simple and sensory the whole experience was. Before social media made everything visible, the mall was where outfits got seen, and where you felt grown just by walking around without your parents. It was messy and unfiltered. No post, no likes, just vibes. MySpace wasn't just a social media site. It was an emotional roller coaster coded in glittery HTML. For people growing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, MySpace was often their first digital playground for self-expression. It was where you picked your top 8 like a friendship Hunger Games, curate your profile song to perfectly match your vibe before vibe was a well-known word, and customize your page with animated backgrounds and aggressive fonts. Unlike today's algorithm-fed platforms, MySpace gave users full creative control. You weren't just on the internet. You were the internet. The nostalgia hits so hard because MySpace feels like the last era where the internet was weird in a good way. It wasn't optimized, curated, and monetized to death. Your crush could see your song choices and maybe, just maybe, message you about it. You didn't need a massive following. You just needed the right song, a good picture, and a good background to fit your aesthetic. There was a sense of individuality and experimentation that current social media just doesn't replicate. Plus, let's be real, MySpace drama shaped us. Who you put in your top 8 mattered. Changing it could spark beef that spilled over into real life. It taught us early lessons in digital relationships, passive aggression, and how to code a glitter gift. There's something deeply comforting about remembering a time when your biggest concern was whether your profile matched your daily mood. For millennials and early Gen Z, MySpace wasn't just a website. It was a rite of passage, a diary, a mixtape, and a whole aesthetic era all rolled into one.
No, Daddy bit me.
Early YouTube was the Wild West of the internet, in the best possible way. There were no rules, no slick brand deals, and definitely no influencers with media kits. It was just regular people with shaky webcams, questionable editing, and way too much free time. And yet, it was magical. Videos like Charlie Bit My Finger and anything by Smosh or Fred weren't trying to go viral. They just did. It felt like stumbling into a secret corner of the internet where chaos thrived and creativity didn't need polish to be iconic. What made early YouTube so nostalgic was how deeply personal it was. Creators felt like your weird online friends, not celebrities. You subscribed not because someone told you to, but because that one video made you laugh until you cried at 2 a.m. It was a time when people filmed skits in their bedrooms, lip-synced into hairbrushes, or posted dramatic rants with zero lighting, and you watched every second of it like it was a cinematic masterpiece. The low production value was charm. It made everything feel more real, more relatable, and totally unfiltered. There's also a sense of collective memory tied to that era. If you were around for early YouTube, you remember the evolution of dance, the Potter Puppet Pals, and when David After Dentist was basically a meme before we even used that word. You didn't just watch YouTube, you bonded over it with friends, quoted it at school, and maybe tried to film your own version of a viral video. It felt like the internet belonged to us. Messy, random, and endlessly entertaining. And now looking back, that era feels like a digital time capsule of who we were before the internet got all optimized. Razor scooters and Heelys were more than just toys. They were status symbols for every kid who wanted to feel like an action star on the playground. Razor scooters were sleek, metallic, and dangerously efficient at bruising your ankles. You weren't just riding a scooter, you were bombing down driveways, popping tiny hops off curbs, and trying to do spins that you definitely weren't qualified to attempt. The sound of a razor on a sidewalk, instantly nostalgic. And even the clack of folding it up made you feel like a secret agent. Heelys, on the other hand, were the ultimate flex. If you could glide down the school hallway with minimal effort, you were Himothy before that hit the ether. Sure, they were banned in most public spaces within a year, but that only made them more legendary. Learning to balance on those little wheels without face planting took real dedication. It felt like flying. Well, flying with the very real possibility of eating concrete. But once you nailed it, instant cool points. You weren't walking anymore. You were hovering into your main character era. The nostalgia around Razor scooters and Heelys come from how free they made us feel. They turned boring sidewalks and grocery store aisles into personal skate parks. There were no apps, no screens, just you, the open pavement, and a vague sense of invincibility. These weren't passive forms of play. They were active, a little dangerous, and totally exhilarating. Looking back, they represent a time when fun didn't need a charger or Wi-Fi, just a decent pair of sneakers and the guts to roll full speed down the hill. The Scholastic Book Fair was the closest thing that kids had to a pop-up luxury boutique. It turned an ordinary school day into a full-blown event, complete with stacks of shiny new books, scented pens, and posters of kittens hanging from tree branches with the words, "Hang in there." The second those carts rolled out into the library or gym, it was game on. You'd clutch your crumpled $5 bill like it was sacred, knowing full well you're gonna blow it all on Captain Underpants and an eraser shaped like a taco. It was chaotic, colorful, and for a brief moment made reading feel like the coolest thing ever. Flip phones and T9 texting weren't just pieces of tech. They were cultural artifacts of a simpler and sassier time. That clack of flipping your phone shut after a dramatic conversation? Iconic. Nothing said conversation over, like snapping a Motorola Razr closed with attitude. Flip phones didn't need a million apps or retina displays. They had charm, they had mystery, and they had the sweet pixelated background of a low-res sunset. They were your lifeline, your mirror, and your status symbol, all in one compact foldable shell. T9 texting was like a secret language only the patient and thumb agile could master. You had to earn every sentence, pressing each number key multiple times to get the letter that you wanted. Sending a simple "what's up" felt like a workout for your thumbs. But once you got the hang of it, you were unstoppable. It was basically predictive text meets Morse code, and somehow we made it work. MTV Cribs was peak 2000s luxury delusion, and we ate it up. It gave us a look into celebrities' mansions filled with marble countertops, indoor pools, 5-car garages, and more flat-screen TVs than any human could realistically need. There was something deeply entertaining and weirdly soothing about watching Mariah Carey show off her shoe closet, or Redman casually lead the camera crew through his surprisingly normal house. Whether it was completely staged or not, didn't matter. Cribs let us peek behind the velvet rope and pretend for 20 minutes that we too could one day own a fridge full of nothing but energy drinks and Cristal. VH1 reality shows, on the other hand, were beautifully chaotic masterpieces. They made absolutely no sense and yet changed reality TV forever. Shows like Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, and I Love New York were unhinged, messy, and wildly addictive. There were dramatic eliminations, weird challenges, suspiciously staged fights, and so many confessionals filled with side eyes and tear-streaked makeup. But that's exactly why we loved them. They were trashy in the most iconic way possible. A guilty pleasure that didn't even pretend to be highbrow. The nostalgia for cribs and VH1 reality shows hits because they captured a time when fame felt larger than life and completely unserious. Before Instagram let us see inside celebrities' homes daily and TikTok turned everyone into a mini influencer, this was how we got our fix. It was exaggerated, over the top, and delightfully fake. But most of all, it was fun. Watching these shows felt like being a part of an exclusive club that celebrated absurdity, drama, and diamond-encrusted dishware. And we'll never forget the phrase, "This is where the magic happens," said it a billion times. Uttered in every master bedroom on cribs like a sacred MTV ritual. School computers are an unexpected cornerstone of Millennial and Gen Z nostalgia. Those bulky desktops, painfully low internet speeds, and brightly colored keyboards weren't just for learning, they were portals to freedom. If you finished your assignment early, or found a clever way to look busy, you were rewarded with coveted minutes on cool math games, Oregon Trail, or Typing of the Dead. There was something euphoric about sneaking in a few rounds of Fireboy and Water Grow, while pretending to research your Volcanoes of the World presentation. It was the golden age of minimal productivity and maximum browser tab switching. Beyond games, school computers were a social hub in disguise. Whether you were customizing your desktop background with a pixelated picture of a dragon, or sending mysterious word art messages to a friend across the room via shared folders, the computer lab had its own secret language. Remember spending way too long choosing the right font in PowerPoint because Comic Sans just doesn't feel right for your project? School computers were the place where creativity and procrastination met in the most beautiful way possible. The nostalgia for school computers isn't really about the tech, it's about the vibe. Pokemon cards, Beyblades, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Weren't just playground trends. They were our early intro into capitalism, strategy, and raw emotional devastation. Owning holographic Charizard or Blue Eyes White Dragon felt like winning the lottery at age 9. You didn't just have cards, you collected, battled, and traded them with the intensity of Wall Street brokers. Every pack you opened was like unwrapping a mystery, praying to God for something shiny. And if you brought your binder to school, you were basically royalty, until someone offered you a sketchy trade and you walked home wondering why you gave your rare Pikachu for a Diglett. Beyblades brought a whole other level of chaos to recess. You and your friends would battle them in plastic arenas or, let's be honest, whatever hard surface you could find, screaming, "Beyblade, let it rip!" like it was a sacred chant. The best part? No two battles were ever the same. One minute your Beyblade was holding steady, the next it exploded into pieces in a move that felt both dramatic and deeply personal. It wasn't just about winning, it was about dominating, even if it meant scratching up your mom's kitchen floor in the progress. And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh! The most complicated, dramatic card game known to 10-year-olds. It wasn't enough to just play. You had to duel. You had to summon, trap, fuse, and somehow memorize a rulebook that was constantly evolving. But none of that mattered when you slammed down a card and shouted, "You triggered my trap card!" with the confidence of someone who absolutely did not read the instructions. The nostalgia for all these isn't just about the cards or toys themselves. It's about the ritual, the camaraderie, and the tiny moments of joy and betrayal that made childhood feel like an epic tournament arc. iPod Nanos and MP3 players were tiny time capsules that held the soundtracks of our youth. Back when music wasn't streamed, but loaded, track by track from your family computer. Owning an iPod Nano felt like holding the future in your palm. You had to curate your vibe. Every song, every playlist, every album was a reflection of your entire personality. Colored iPods, that was practically your aesthetic. Whether it was lime green or a hot pink, your device wasn't just about music. It was a fashion statement, a flex, and your emotional support gadget. MP3 players, especially the off-brand ones, had their own charm too. They were clunky, had the worst UIs known to humankind, and yet they let you take your music everywhere. On the bus, at recess, hiding under your hoodie during class. It didn't matter that the screen was pixelated, or that you had to scroll forever to find that one song you downloaded off of LimeWire, and possibly gave your computer a virus to get. Once those earbuds were in, the world faded away, and it was just you and whatever phase you were deeply committed to at the time. These little devices represented freedom. You weren't bombarded by notifications. You didn't have to be online. You just listened. Your iPod didn't judge you for playing the same song 87 times in a row. It didn't care if your workout mix had 0 workout songs. It was all about escape, identity, and finding your rhythm in a chaotic world. Today's endless streaming libraries can't quite replicate that feeling of carefully dragging songs into your iTunes library like you were building your own private music universe. 2000s fashions was a chaotic, colorful blend of contradictions, and we were there for every second of it. It was the era of low-rise jeans that defied the laws of physics, but dazzled everything, and enough layering to survive a snowstorm, even in the middle of July. Trucker hats, Von Dutch logos, rhinestone-studded belts, and those weirdly tiny shoulder bags that could barely fit a flip phone. It all somehow worked. There was a rebellious DIY energy to 2000s fashion that made it feel personal. It was the golden age of self-expression through chaos. Kids were rating Hot Topic one day and then Hollister the next. It didn't have to make sense. In fact, the less it made sense, the more iconic it was. Fashion wasn't curated, it was collected, thrown together, and worn with bold, delusional confidence. It wasn't about being polished or minimalistic, it was about being loud. Every outfit was a moment, a mood board of teenage rebellion, pop culture obsession, and peak mall energy. Before you continue listening, hey, sorry everyone, while I was editing this video, I remembered a few things that'll definitely unlock some memories for you. I don't want to take too much of your time because I've already taken a lot and I truly appreciate you being here, but here it is.
Be with the right college for free. Get connected for free. With Education Connection.
Continuous brushing. Tooth Tunes is the only brush that sends music through your teeth and into your head.
Transform this wooden fossil into a fierce Floam T-Rex. Turn this ordinary toy car into a Floaming fast dragster. Or change this plain dollhouse into a Floamtastic mansion.
They just love their pillow pets. There's a panda bear, a ladybug, a frog, a dog, a unicorn, a dolphin.
Oh, not tonight, sweetie. You've had Chef every night this week.
But I love Chef.
Money and I need it now.
It's my money and I need it now!
It's my money and I need it now!
It's my money and I need it now.
I like square butts and I cannot lie.
Great when separate, but when they combine, they make the morning time epic. Morning time epic. Morning time epic. R-double-E-S-E-S.
What's that?
Chia.
Go Looney Tunes with Chia Bugs Bunny.
How's it going? I'm Finn.
Hey, Finn. Well, what kind of name's that, Irish?
No, Cheddar.
Uh-huh.
Where are you guys from?
Snack bowl.
Classic baggy.
I know I forgot some more things that we all get nostalgic over, so let me know in the comments if I forgot something that you personally get nostalgic over. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. Nostalgia's weird like that. It turns the most random stuff, like jelly sandals or dial-up tones, into emotional time machines. But for people like me who grew up in this weird Y2K bubble of tech, color, and chaos, these weren't just things. They were core memories. So drop your nostalgic obsessions in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and send this to someone who's a sucker for nostalgia, like me. If you made it all the way to the end, you are an amazing person. And your support goes a long way in helping me provide more thoughtful and engaging content as we grow. Until next time, much love. We out of here. Peace.